In our world, speed is the ultimate currency of power. We stand in awe of fighter jet towering through the stratosphere of Mach 2 and the terrifying velocity of sniper bullet cutting through the air at 1,000 meters per second. We celebrate this feat as the absolute genius of human engineering and ballistic physics, believing that such staggering acceleration belongs exclusively to the realm of gunpowder and jet fuel. We view the natural world, by contrast, as a plague of biological limitations, a world governed by the relatively slow contraction of muscle and bone. But beneath the canopy of tropical rainforests and under the crushing pressures of the deep ocean, there exist creators that shattered the law of classical physics millions of years before the first human forged a blade. These are the physics breakers. They do not possess internal combustion engines or explosive propellant, yet they generate mechanical force that defy conventional biology. They utilize specialized skeletal structures, high-tension elastic tissues, and fluid dynamics to produce strikes so rapid they are invisible to naked eyes, movements so extreme that even the most advanced high-speed cameras struggle to capture their complexity. In this hidden arena of revolution, the rules of motion are bent to the breaking point. This is the place where a single punch can generate temperatures rivaling the surface of the sun, and a snap of jaw creates gravitational force that would cause a human fighter pilot to black out instantly. These animals don't just hunt, they weaponize physics. They have transformed their own bodies into biological springs, pressure cookers, and ray guns, turning the simple act of a predatory strike into a localized explosion of kinetic energy. Prepare to leave the world of human machinery behind as we count out the deadliest assassins equipped with the fastest weapon on the planet. We are exploring the mechanic of survival at the edge of the impossible, where biology meets supersonic. Welcome to a journey into the heart of extreme acceleration. This is Top 7 Physics Breakers, attack faster than a speeding bullet. When we think of a chameleon, we visualize a slow, methodical creator, shifting its weight constantly and rotating its turrets like ice in a continuous search for prey. It is the embodiment of patience. However, once a target enters its strike zone, that sluggish dominoes vanish, replaced by one of the most violent and rapid acceleration events in the veteran world. The chameleon's tongue can reach lengths of up to twice its body size, launching, securing its prey, and retracting in less than 0.1 scarce second, an event so fast that the human eyes perceive it as the mere blur. For a long time, scientists believed this feat was achieved through simple muscle contraction, but there is a fundamental problem with that theory. Biology has a speed limit. Muscles, no matter how powerful, can only contract so fast. They are limited by the rate at which chemical signal can travel and fiber can slide. To achieve the speed seen in a chemical strike, the animal would need muscles that don't exist in nature. The secret, it turned out, is not raw power, but elasticity. The chameleons had evolved into a living catapult. Inside the chameleon mouth is a complex mechanical assembly consisting of central bone called the hind horn, surrounded by a specialized accelerator muscle and several layers of nested collagen cells. Before the strike, the chameleon spent a few hundred milliseconds loading the weapon. They contract the accelerator muscle, but instead of moving the tongue forward, it's you that force to squeeze and strengthen the elastic collagen threads against the bone. This process stores a massive amount of potential energy, much like a hunter pulling back the string of a heavy recurve bow. When the trigger is pulled, the energy is released all at once. The collagen threads slide off or the bone, converting the stored potential energy into kinetic energy with terrifying efficiency. The tongue doesn't just move, it explodes forward with an acceleration of up to 50 grams. This is 50 times the force of gravity. To put that into perspective, a high-performance Formula One car accelerates at about 5 grams, and a pilot in a fighter jet begins to lose consciousness around 9 grams. The chameleon's tongue experiences force 5 more intense than a human could survive. The tip of the tongue is equally impressive. It is a bulbous, sticky organ that acts as both a suction cup and a high-friction adhesive. When it strikes the insect at a supersonic speed, The sheer force of the impact often stuns the prey before the sensor even take hold. The tongue then retracts using a different set of restructured muscles, hauling the diced insect back into the chameleon's mouth. The chameleons prove that in the game of survival, you don't need your biggest muscle to have the fastest strike. You just need to know how to hack a law of physics. By using its body as a spring rather than a model, it has created a biological harpoon that makes human reaction times look like they are moving through molecules. It is a masterclass in energy storage and mechanical advantage, making it the perfect starting point for our list of physics breakers. In the leaf litter of tropical forest floor, the tiny predator stalks its prey with a weapon so fast it challenges the very limits of biological tissues. This is the trapjaw ant, a tautomatus, a creature that have traded the conventional bit-biting mechanics of the insect world for a high-speed, spring-loaded trap. While most ants use their mandibles to saw or crush, the Trojan ant has evolved a mechanism that operates on the principle of a cowl crocking, locking, and firing with a velocity that leaves its victim no time to even resist a threat. The physics-breaking mechanics of this ant begin with a specialized large system. The ant opens its mandibles to wave 180-degree angle, locking them into place using a sophisticated internal latch. Once the jaws are locked open, the ant begins to contract its massive adductor muscle, the largest muscle in its body, taking its nearly the entire cavity of its head. However, because the jaws are large, the muscles don't move. Instead, they stretch the internal skeletal structures, storing a colossal amount of potential energy. The ant has effectively become a pressured chamber of kinetic potential, waiting for a high trigger release. The trigger consists of a pair of ultra-sensitive trigger hairs located on the inner face of the mandibles. When a prey item or threat touches this hair, the nervous system sends a signal to release the latch. The response time is staggering. From the moment the hairs are touched to the moment the jaw snaps shut is less than 1 millisecond. The mandible accelerates at the rate of over 100,000 grams. To put that in perspective, a speeding bullet leaving a handgun barrel experiences about the same level of acceleration. The tips of the jaws reach speed of up to 230 km per hour. When this jaw strikes a soft-bordered insect, The result is instantaneous decapitation or bisection. The sheer kinetic energy delivered in such a confused area is often enough to explode the exoskeleton of the prey, but the trapjaw ant has discovered a secondary, even more ingenious use of the physics-breaking power, the bungee jump. If the ant is threatened by a larger predator, such as a spider or a lizard, it doesn't try to run. Instead, it aims to its jaw at the ground and fight. Because the Newton closed law, for every action, this is the unequal and opposite reaction. The massive force of the jaw hitting the solid earth creates a recoil so powerful it launches the ant into the air. A single snap can propel the ant up to 8 cm high and 40 cm away. For a human, this would be an equivalent for doing a push-up so hard you launch yourself over a million-side building. This snap jump is a perfect example of biological emergency engineering. By weaponizing the recoil of its own attack, the trapjaw ant has created a multi-purpose tool, a lethal harpoon for hunting and a high-speed ejection seat for survival. It is the master of the instantaneous strike, proving that in microscopic world, the winner isn't the one with biggest bite, but the one with fastest trigger. In the vibrant competitive world of the coral reef, most predators rely on camouflage or razor-sharp teeth to secure a meal. But the mantis shrimp, Stomathapoda, specifically the smasher variety, has evolved a weapon that defies the biological limits of the underwater world. This small, colorful crustacean does not just hit its prey, it launches a localized ballistic missile. It possesses a pair of club-like appendages known as diatic claws that can accelerate with the velocity of a 22 caliber bullet. However, the true terror of the mantis shrimp lies not in the physical impact of its club, but in the terrifying physical phenomena that follow in its wake. The physics-breaking mechanics of the mantis shrimp begin with a sophisticated energy storage system that functions like a high-tension crossbow. A shrimp's muscles, like all biological tissues, have a maximum speed at which they can contract. To overcome this limitation, the mantis shrimp do not rely on muscle power alone to drive its strike. Instead, they use its massive muscle to compress a specialized, saddle-shaped structure in its arm made of a highly elastic material. This saddle acts as a powerful spring. When the shrimp is ready to strike, a launch mechanism releases, and all that stored potential energy is converted into kinetic energy in less than 3,000 of a second. The acceleration is mind-boggling. The dive club moves a speed of up to 80 km per hour. Within the dense, resistant medium of water, it reaches the top speed with an acceleration of over 10,000 grams. To a human, this would be like throwing a baseball so hard it reached orbit. But because the movement happens underwater, it triggers a secondary, far more destructive effect known as cavitation. As the club moves through the water at such extreme velocities, it creates a zone of incredibly low pressure behind it. This drop in pressure is so intense that the water literally boils at room temperature, forming tiny vacuum bubbles. When the club hits its target, usually the thick shell of a crab or snail, the primary impact is devastating. But a split second later, these captivation bubbles collapse. The collapse is so violent that it generates a secondary shockwave, hitting the prey with thousands of pounds of force. This means that even if the mantis shrimp misses its target by a fraction of an inch, the shockwave alone is often enough to stun or kill the prey. But the most incredible part of the cavitation process is extreme physics occurring inside these collapsing bubbles. For billionths of a second, the temperature inside the collapsing bubbles rises to several thousand degrees Kelvin, nearly as hot as the surface of the sun. This phenomenon, known as sonoluminescence, actually produces a tiny flash of light. In that brief moment, the mantis shrimp is effectively creating a miniature star in the palm of its hand. The power of this strike is legendary among aquarium hobbyists and researchers alike. A mantis shrimp has enough force to shatter double pane safety glass or break a human finger to the bone. It is an animal that masters the art of weaponizing fluid dynamics, turning the very water it lives into an explosive tool of destruction. By combining mechanical leverages, elastic energy storage, and the violent power of vacuum collapse, the mantis shrimp stands as the ultimate heavyweight champion of the ocean physics breaker. If the mantis shrimp is the heavyweight boxer of the ocean, the pistol shrimp, Aphadia, is a light marksman. While only a few inches long, this unassuming crustacean possesses a weapon that makes it one of the largest and most physically violent inhabitants of the sea. Unlike its cousin that relies on the physical impact of a club, the pistol shrimp doesn't even need to touch its opponent to deliver a lethal blow. It has evolved a highly specialized snapping claw that has functioned less like a pincer and more like a high-powered acoustic cannon. The physics-breaking mechanic of the pistol shrimp centers on a unique atomical design. One half of its oversized snapping claw features a fungal like protrusion, while the other half has a matching socket. When the stream cork is clogged, a powerful set of internal muscles stretches a massive spring-like ligament, storing an immense amount of elastic potential energy. When the latch is released, the claw snaps shut with such incredible speed that the water trapped in the socket is forced out through a narrow groove at a velocity of approximately 100 km per hour. This high-speed jet of water is the catalyst of a terrifying physical phenomenon. According to Bernoulli's principle, as the speed of a fluid increases, its pressure decreases. The water jets move so fast that the pressure behind is dropped below the vapor pressure of the water itself. This causes the water to literally rip apart, creating a giant cultivation bubbles, a pocket of vacuuming and water vapor. As this bubble moves forward and encounters the higher pressure water surrounding the prey, it doesn't just pop, it explodes with cataclysmic violence. The collapse of this cavitation bubble is where the sonic boom occurs. The implosion generates an acoustic pressure wave that reaches up to 210 decibels. To put that in perspective, a heavy metal concert is around 120 decibels, and a jet engine's takeoff is 140 decibels. On the, on the logarithmic scale of sound, the pistol stream is loud enough to interfere with sonar equipment used by naval submarines. For a small fish or a rival stream that's standing in the path of this shockwave, the result is instant. The massive pressure lost by shatter their internal organs or stun them into a state of total paralysis. But the physics of the implosion go even deeper as the bubble collapses. The air and vapor inside are compressed so rapidly that the temperature inside the bubble spikes to over 4,700 degrees Celsius, 8,500 degrees Fahrenheit. This is nearly as hot as the surface of the sun. This extreme heat is accompanied with a phenomenon called sonoluminescence, a brief, intense flood of light that lasts only a few nanoseconds. In that split second, the pistol stream has successfully turned a simple claw snap into a localized thermodynamic explosion. The pistol stream proved that in the world of physics breaker, size is irrelevant. It is a creator that has mastered the transforming form of mechanical energy to its chaotic and thermal energy. It doesn't hunt with teeth or claws, it hunts with the very fabric of the ocean, turning the medium it swims into a lethal, high-temperature projectile. It is the ultimate phantom shooter of the coral reef, a tiny stream with the power of supernova in its claw. In the world of high-performance aesthetic, we celebrate the vertical leap of a basketball player of the explosive start of a printer. But if we scale those achievements down to the insect work, They are rendered utterly significant by a tiny, sap-sucking insect known as the frog gopher. Philanus supermaris, often found hiding inside cuspid on garden plants. This creature is the undisputed heavy launch champion of this planet. It doesn't just jump, it undergoes a ballistic launch that pushes the very boundaries of what biological tissue can endure without disintegrating. The physics-breaking mechanics of the photographer is the masterclass in energy storage. To understand the scale of its power, we must look at its acceleration. A photographer can leave a height of 70 centimeters, 28 inches in less than a millisecond. To achieve this, it accelerates at a staggering 4,000 meters per second. In the language of physics, the insect is subjected to 400 grams. For comparisons, a human will lose consciousness at 9 grams, and even the most advanced solid fuel rocket rarely exceeds 15 grams to 20 grams during launch. If a human was subjected to the frog gopher launch force, their skeletal system would instantly shatter, and their internal organs would be crushed into a pulp. How the Earth's creator made of soft tissue and a thin exoskeleton survive such a violent departure from the Earth? The answer lies in its specialized bow and arrow autonomy. The frog gopher is jumping muscles are massive, accounting for about 11% of its total body mass. But even these muscles are too slow to produce to require power through simple contraction. Instead, the insect uses its muscles to slowly bend the specialized internal structure called the pleural arch. This arch is made of a unique, highly elastic protein called resilience, arguably the most efficient elastic material on Earth. The frog gopher cock is relaxed into a locked position and spends several hundred milliseconds slowly contracting its muscle to deform the resilient arch. It is effectively drawing a microscopic, high-tension bow inside its own chest. When the arch is released, the resilient snaps back to its original shape, releasing all that stored energy in a thousandth of a second. The legs are driven downward with such explosive force that the insect is launched at a velocity of 4 meters per second. The precision required for this jump is astronomical. Because the legs move so fast, they must be perfectly synchronized. What if one leg flies even microseconds before the other? The frog gopher would spin uncontrollably like a malfunctioning magnetic firework. To prevent this, the insect has evolved a mechanical solution, a set of interlocking gears at the base of its legs. These microscopic teeth mash together, ensuring that both leg flights are exact same nanosecond. The frog gopher is a living testament to the power of mechanical advantage over raw muscle. It has turned its entire torus into a high-tension spring, allowing it to bypass the speed limit of biology and enter the rhythm of pure ballistic. Is a tiny, organic cannibal, proving that with the right material and a bit of clever engineering, you can defy gravity with a force that would tear a jet fighter apart. we think of jellyfish, we imagine a zero drifting ball of translucent gelatin, seemingly the most fragile and passive creature in the ocean. But contained within their delicate tentacle is a weapon of such extreme ballistic power that it makes the punch of Mantis swim look like slow motion. This is the nematocyst, a specialized stinging cell that operates not on the scale of muscle and limbs, but at the level of high-pressure molecular physics. It is the fastest mechanical process ever recorded in a living organism, a macroscopic stride that occurs in a time frame so small it is measured in nanoseconds. The physics-breaking mechanics of a jellyfish stinger are centered on a tiny, pressurized capsule. Inside the capsule sits a tiny cold, hollow tubule, a microscopic needle equipped with a backward-facing bulk. This needle is bathed in a highly concentrated solution of vacuum and specialized proteins. To prepare for a strike, the cell used an osmotic pump to create an incredible internal pressure. Imagine trying to hold back the water of a massive dam with a single finger. The pressure inside a nematocyst reaches up to 150 atmospheres. The trigger is a tiny hair-like projection called a cinedocil. When a fish crustacean or a human leg brush against this hair, it triggers a structural change in the capsule lid. In an instant, the internal pressure is unleashed. The hollow needle doesn't just unfold, it is literally blown inside out by the force of a escaping fluid. This happens in less than 700 nanoseconds, that is 700 billionths of a second. To put that in perspective, the blink of a human eye takes about 100 million nanoseconds. The acceleration of the stinger is over 500. This extreme acceleration creates a level of kinetic energy that is terrifying when concentrated on a microscopic point. The tip of the stinger hits the skin on the victim at a pressure of 15 gigapascal. For comparisons, this is the same amount of pressure generated by a high velocity, a more piercing bullet hitting a steel pallet. This immense pressure allowed the soft, gelatinous jellyfish to punch a hole through the tongue, chitinous shell of a shrimp or thick skin of a fish as if they were made of wet paper. Once the needle penetrates the victim, it acts as a microscopic syringe, injecting a cocktail of neurotoxin directly into the bloodstream. This process is so efficient and so fast that by the time the prey feels the physical touch of the tentacle, the venom has already begun to paralyze its nervous system. It is a masterpiece of lethal efficiency, proving that evolution has mastered high-pressure ballistics long before humans even dreamed of gunpowder. It's a weapon that operates at the very edge of what is physically possible for biological matter, turning a drifting bag of water into a fastest, most pressurized assistance on Earth. At the absolute summit of our physics breaker list, we found a creator that doesn't just use mechanical spring or pressure. It has evolved a literal chemical rocket engine inside its abdomen. This is the Bombardier beetle, Brachynae. While other animals on this list use speed to cut a meal, this beetle uses a law of thermodynamics and fluid dynamics to ensure it never becomes one. It is the only animal on Earth capable of creating a controlled, internal chemical explosion to repel predators with a shearing, toxic blast. The physics-breaking mechanics of the boom barrier beetle are centered on two separate internal reservoirs. One chamber contains hydroquinones, and the other contains hydrogen peroxide. On their own, these chemicals are relatively stable. But when the beetle is threatened by a hungry toad, a bird, or a larger insect, it performs a feat of high-speed chemistry. It squeezes the two liquids into a thick-walled reaction chamber lined with specialized enzymes called catalysis and peroxidase. This reaction releases a massive amount of heat, causing the liquid to reach its boiling point of 100 Celsius degree, 212 Fahrenheit degree. Almost instantly, the oxygen gas creates an immense boulder of pressure, and the resulting explosion forces the boiling caustic liquid out of the beetle rear end in a high-viscosity spray. But the true genius of the beetle engine is its pull-jet mechanism. If the beetle fired one long, continuous stream, the heat would be so intense it might melt its own internal organs. Instead, it fires in rapid fire pulls, about 500 to 1000 pulls per second. This machine gun firing style allows the reaction chamber to cool down between micro-explosions, preventing self-destruction while maintaining a devastating, continuous-looking stream of boiling acid. This is the exact same principle used in the engine of the V-1 flying bombs during World War II. The accuracy of this weapon is equally terrifying. The beetle's tolerance at the tip of its abdomen is highly flexible, capable of rotating nearly 270 degrees. It can fire forward, backward, or sideways with surgical precision. If a predator attacks its left, the beetle can aim the boiling spray directly at the attacker's face. The combination of extreme heat and toxic chemical is enough to stun, blind, or even kill a much larger predator. These are documented cases of toads swallowing this beetle, only to vomit them back seconds later after receiving a series of internal explosions to the stomach. The bomb barrier beetle is the ultimate physics breaker because it has mastered thermodynamics. It has turned its own body into a pressure chemical reactor, proving that sometimes the best defense isn't just fast enough to run away, it's being fast enough to create volcanic eruption in the face of your enemy. It is a biological masterpiece of ballistics and chemistry, earning its place as the fastest, hottest, and most explosive defender in the natural world.